You're on KVII-TV, Channel 7, Amarillo. Now, 11 minutes of nonstop news and your first forecast. This is Pronews Tonight.
A tragic end to a long and distinguished political career, a man respected by many of his colleagues, friends, and even his political enemies. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Duncan.
And I'm Steve Myers. 47th District Attorney Danny Hill shot and killed himself last night at his former wife's home. Today, his co-workers and friends reflect on the man he was and his dedication to his job. Holly Sulak reports in News Happening Tonight.
Well, Danny and I go back to law school. We started out in law school together. We both had our own ideas about what we wanted to do and what kind of changes we wanted to see, starting off as young lawyers. He liked the political arena. I didn't.
But former Randall County DA Randy Sherrod says he and Hill found common ground in helping shape policy and in the courtroom. But in the courtroom, Hill met some of his most vocal enemies. The prosecutor and defense attorney Jeff Blackburn didn't see eye to eye, and Blackburn says they probably never would have.
More than once supported the same candidates for judicial office, and we co-sponsored a couple of political get-togethers, even after some really severe disagreements. And Danny had the flexibility and the sense to be able to do that. And that was one of his better qualities.
And whether they were for his side, against it, or just keeping score, Hill was known for his ability to present a case, gauge the public, and carve out a political future.
I've known him about 20 years. We started in the DA's office here together. I came back here from Dallas. He came back here from Lubbock. We're both local hometown boys, and I'll miss him.
Holly Sulak, Pro News.
The first assistant DA hired by Hill, John Wagner, says he will best remember Hill as a prosecutor who fought for the rights of victims. Hill's current staff has a lot on their hands. Several capital murder cases are pending, and 2 trials are being argued before the appeals court. Laura Reist has more on what's next for the DA's office. That story tops our local news tonight.
Danny Hill's office opened as usual this morning, a memorial wreath tied to the door. Inside, employees, obviously shaken by the tragedy, went on with their work.
We started researching this morning shortly after 7 to see what authority we had to continue the work of the office.
What they found is this Attorney General's opinion, quoting a section of the government code. It says the first assistant or chief deputy of a public office in which a physical vacancy occurs shall conduct the affairs of the office until a successor qualifies. That puts Rebecca King in charge for the time being. Today, she told the Potter County Commission the DA's office would continue its work.
Our thoughts and prayers are not only with Danny's family, but with everybody in the DA's office. If there's anything we can do, just call.
King says work must continue or else criminals could go free. The 72-hour rule says a jail inmate must make a court appearance within 3 days or be released.
Even when something tragic like this happens, cases still penned, the system still exists, and there are plenty of assistant district attorneys who can pull together, I'm sure, to manage the caseload that we have.
From here, the governor names a replacement for Hill, a process that could take months, considering Bush has more than 4,000 appointments to make. Meantime, colleagues of Hill's wear black ribbons in his memory.
Danny ran a good office for a long time, and it was not what any of us wanted to do, to close the doors and stay home today. This is something I think we needed each other, and we needed to go to work on what he had assigned us to do, and it's working that way.
Laura Reist, Pro News.
The primary election for the DA's office is set for May 1996. The general election is the following November.
Reaction to Hill's suicide filled the airwaves on an Amarillo talk radio show this afternoon.
I think we need to keep this all in perspective, that what's happening today can usually be corrected, and we need to give things time to work out in our life, and I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate your phone call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, there. You're with us on KJC4.
I just think that the city, really owes Danny and his family a debt of gratitude that's going to take a long time to repay.
I think all of us, when we leave this earth, we want to be remembered for the positive, good things that we left behind, and I think he's earned that.
A funeral is scheduled for Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. at the Central Church of Christ. Danny Hill was 48.
The future of education in the Panhandle gains a Ph.D. today, at least the opportunity to earn one. West Texas A&M University and Texas Tech have teamed up to offer a new doctoral program in educational leadership. Students can earn their Ph.D. in about 4 years, and WT can provide up to 40% of the credit in earning the Texas Tech degree. The new cooperative doctoral program will utilize long-distance learning through satellite schooling between Canyon and Lubbock.
Ex-prisoners of war from the Amarillo area are remembering their colleagues who survived the sometimes torturous experience and those who didn't. 53 years ago this week, the first Americans were taken as POWs during World War II. Ex-POWs around the country are also observing a special recognition day. Most of them were captured during World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam, but 23 Americans were captured in the Persian Gulf War. They say the experiences may be different, but the lessons are the same.
I think it's important to keep everybody informed of what did happen, because history always repeats itself, and we need to let people know what did happen and could happen again if we're not real careful.
An estimated 142,000 Americans have been taken as war prisoners since the turn of the century.
A night of surprises at the Amarillo Independent School District and proof that students aren't the only ones working hard toward their education. Tonight, local volunteers are honored by the AISD at its annual Partners in Education banquet at the Civic Center. 11 different groups, companies, and individuals are awarded for their own unique contributions to Amarillo school kids. Recipients are recognized for their leadership, impact, and service to the district.
I do most of the volunteer work because of her. I stay at school 90% of the time while she's there, so I'm right there with her. If anybody ever needs me or anything, I'm right there.
The district's partnership program now involves more than 480 local businesses, organizations, and individuals. Well, even though it's almost Easter, we can still chalk up a few cold spells before prolonged spring weather takes hold in these parts. Case in point, today, a windy cold snap and an overnight freeze. Lynn joins us now with your first forecast. Lynn.
Right, people always talk about the big change around Easter with the snow on the Easter bonnets. Well, we're trying to do that this year. We're going to see a big warm-up, though, by the end of the month. 31 this morning. We're colder than that right now. 43 the warmest part of the afternoon. We should be around 70, and we have seen 91 taking place on this date. As of 10 o'clock, we're back down below freezing. 30 degrees right now in Amarillo, 27 from Dalhart. It's only 26 at Elkhart and Clayton. Still above freezing at Lubbock on the South Plains with 38, and Childress coming in with 41. Our wind chills, and they are kind of significant. 5 from Elkhart and Clayton. Elkhart was at 0 just an hour ago. We're at 9 right now in Amarillo. Winds are slowly diminishing, but the wind chills will stay sharp right on through the night. Our pinpoint forecast will be calling for fair skies for tonight. Look for a low near 24 degrees right around 7 o'clock. Stay below freezing till 10. From there on, the sun will warm us rapidly, and we'll be close to the high for the day, about 6 in the evening, right around 50 degrees, and then gradually start to see things again dropping. We'll have a little more in the way of weather, a look at some tornado information a little later in Pronews.
Len, thank you. Not only does the Texas House want to change the state's welfare system, some lawmakers want to change what happens following a divorce. Leading our Southwest News, legislation overhauling the state's welfare system and establishing alimony in Texas wins final House approval. Now it's off to the Senate for consideration. Among other things, the plan would cap cash benefits paid under aid to families with dependent children and require welfare recipients to work. It would also establish alimony in Texas, the only state in the country without it.
Alimony isn't the only thing Texas legislators discussed today. They also took the chance today to blast radio shock jock Howard Stern. Corpus Christi's representative says Stern degraded Tejano star Selena and promoted hatred across the country. Meanwhile, the boycott of Stern's advertisers continues in South Texas. The backlash comes after Stern made some off-colored remarks about Selena's death last week. The man many consider to be the front-runner for the GOP presidential ticket formally kicked off his campaign. This tops tonight's American News. Senate Majority Leader Robert Dole made the expected announcement today in Topeka, Kansas. This is the third time the 71-year-old has run for the top job. Dole told supporters that he isn't afraid to lead this country, and he knows the way to do it.
We need a president who will say yes to the American people, and that is the kind of president I intend to be.
Dole winds up his announcement tour at a veteran of foreign wars post in his hometown on Friday, the 50th anniversary of the day he was wounded in Italy during World War II.
President Clinton is promising a series of actions to help working women. At a White House ceremony today, the president accepted recommendations from a survey of 250,000 women. Respondents say their biggest problem is balancing work and family. Many complained of making less money than men and that there's too much stress in their lives. Clinton says one way he'll respond is to push his proposal for a higher minimum wage, $5.15 an hour.
Thousands of mourners in Israel remember the victims of Sunday's suicide bombing in the Gaza Strip. This tops tonight's world news. 7 Israeli soldiers and an American college student died after a Palestinian man rammed his vehicle, loaded with explosives, into a bus carrying a group of Israeli soldiers. Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat ordered the arrest of 112 Hamas and Islamic Jihad members. Islamic leaders remain defiant, promising more violence. The American killed was a student at Brandeis University who was visiting Israel for Passover vacation.
The Iraqi government received a blow today from a United Nations inspector. The inspector says Iraq does indeed have the capabilities to build weapons for germ warfare. The new report is expected to be the topic for discussion at Wednesday's meeting of the UN Security Council. Iraq has to prove to the United Nations that they are not building any type of weapon for mass destruction before economic sanctions will be lifted.
Our follow-up story tonight is about money and lots of it. The jackpot for Wednesday's lotto drawing gets $10 million bigger. That's because no one matched all 6 numbers from Saturday's $18 million drawing. Now the big winnings go up to $28 million. You can see that drawing right here on Channel 7 Wednesday night before Pronews tonight.
As you heard earlier, millions of women say it's tough juggling being a working mom, and now President Clinton is promising to help. Taking a look at some of the stories we're covering for you on Tuesday, we'll introduce you to some local working moms and see if their problems reflect the results of the survey mentioned today. And you'll meet a special young man whose life was changed after a tragic crash involving drinking and driving. And still to come on Pronews tonight at 10:13, an investigation into a pair of Disney animated movies that one family says has explicit language and suggestive pictures. That's on Hotline. And on Medic Watch, 2 minutes later, fighting life-threatening diseases the natural way with holistic medicine.
Pronews Tonight continues with Elizabeth Duncan and Steve Myers, meteorologist Len Plessick, and Terry Amburn on sports.
There is growing controversy about the smash hit Disney movies Aladdin and The Little Mermaid.
One Illinois family claims their tapes contain explicit statements and a sexually graphic picture. Alonzo Westbrook reports in tonight's Hotline.
Did you hear that? If you didn't, listen up. It seems to say, good teenagers, take off your clothes. And it's not heard on just this one Aladdin tape, but on a second, and a third, too.
We were flabbergasted, you know, because our daughter loves these tapes.
Jim Hood's daughter is 3-year-old Jamie, here coloring with her cousin.
She's very, very bright. I mean, she, as far as we know, she's already picked that up.
They have done something that is damaging to children.
Plus, I mean, Jamie's only 3, and we're trying to teach her the opposite things of taking off her clothes.
The Hoods are also concerned with the box cover of Disney's Little Mermaid.
Right here in the middle, that middle pillar, that's a male penis.
And when you mentioned this to Disney, what did they say to you?
They said that they knew. Go ahead.
I talked to a manager out at the Disney store at the Dayton Mall, and she said that they were aware that this had happened. When it initially happened, they pulled all the original Walt Disney Little Mermaid tapes off the shelves.
When Disney supposedly pulled the Little Mermaids from the shelves, it appears they may have changed the cover. And then again, maybe they didn't, because the phallic symbol is still here. Now, we contacted Disney. They refused comment, and neither did they comment on the language in Aladdin.
It's really discouraging to me because you cannot protect your children against much. And one thing I've always tried to protect our child against was the media and the violence that they see there. So we would encourage her to watch the Disney tapes. We purchase all of them for her so that she can get, you know, some positive out of the time she does spend in front of the TV.
Now they say they have to re-teach their daughter from a lesson they believe she learned from Disney.
In medical news now, some cancer specialists now encourage patients to try natural treatments if it doesn't interfere with their medical treatments. One woman took a holistic approach to battling cancer and says it has changed her life. Christy Myers has her story in tonight's Medic Watch report.
Ellen Osborne works at the Museum of Fine Arts.
In 2 weeks, she's about to get married. You'd never know that this time a year ago, she wasn't sure if she would be alive.
After I was diagnosed with cancer in March of last year, I was willing to do anything that might help me get better. And a friend who had also been sick recommended the nutritionist and yoga.
Ellen changed her diet and doubled her fresh vegetables and fruit. She started taking yoga to reduce stress. What did her oncologist think? He supports her holistic approach to cancer, as long as it doesn't interfere with chemotherapy.
Any alternative medical approach that helps a patient is not a threat to a doctor. Shouldn't be. We just don't have a scientific way many times to prove what alternative medicine can do.
In fact, Dr. Preddy encourages all his patients to change their diet and to try something like Ellen's yoga to reduce stress.
I first went about a month after I had been diagnosed, and I remember my jaw relaxed for the very first time. All of a sudden I went, oh, I can open my mouth. You know, I've been clenched for a month.
Ellen is now in remission and feeling great, and she credits it to both the chemotherapy and her holistic approach to cancer.
I have said throughout that the silver lining on the cloud of cancer has been good health for me, because I felt better than I ever had, certainly before I was sick.
Other medical news now. Imagine this: a banana that vaccinates against hepatitis, or an apple that protects against cholera. Researchers say that could be possible by manipulating plant genes. Experimenters report they've transferred a protein gene to potato plants that can create in mice the antibodies needed to protect against hepatitis B. They say they believe it may be possible to do the same for other diseases. The experiment, done in part at Texas A&M, shows that it may be possible to one day grow fruit or vegetables that carry vaccination genes against other diseases.
In Money News tonight, here's something you don't hear often. A television industry bigwig saying, quote, "We don't need the money." That's what Fox Incorporated Chairman Rupert Murdoch told people at the National Association of Broadcasters convention in Las Vegas. Murdoch is urging broadcasters to provide free airtime to political candidates, a wildly unpopular notion in the TV industry. Murdoch says free airtime would help get rid of some of the influence of money in politics. Under existing law, stations must give qualified political candidates their lowest rates. The stock market advanced today in slow trading. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed up about 5.5 points at 41.98. Crude oil futures prices ended lower. The near-month contract for the benchmark grade fell 10 cents at $19.67 a barrel. And natural gas was down, too, at $1.60 per MCF.
It was a real weekend of change across the Panhandle.
From sun-burning skies on Saturday to a cold front moving in last night. Len joins us next to let us know about any other changes in store in the near future. Stay with us.
We were talking at 6 about the dry line moving back and forth and how it influences the real heavy stormy weather over to our east, and I guess it's still going on.
Right, we had tornadoes east of here during the day today, and today, by the way, is the anniversary of the famous Wichita Falls tornado in 1979. We do have some video taken during that storm. These are the actual shots. There were, 46 people killed in this storm, and out of that, over 30-some were killed in cars trying to run to safety. And again, this is a very good tip. Get out of automobiles. They are terrible places to be during these storms. Get down in a ditch. You're much better off than trying to stay in that vehicle. No tornado weather here in the Panhandle today. We were very, very chilly. In fact, we had snow while those major storms were going on just to the east of us. Not an uncommon situation during the springtime. Our 10 o'clock temperature, we're back down below freezing at 30 degrees in Amarillo. Dew point 15. Humidity 53%. Our pressure is rising, 29.93. And our wind is running from the north at 31, giving us a wind chill of 9 degrees at the present time. So it is awfully chilly out there, and we'll see those wind chills staying around 5 to 10 for much of the night. By tomorrow, though, we'll begin to see some warmer weather finally moving in. Today's high 43, 40 up around Guyman, but everyone else north of here stayed in the 30s. It was only freezing up at Elkhart for the warmest part of the day. The same from Boise City. 2 inches of snow reported in Boise City. Clayton, 31, didn't even get up to freezing today. And this region may be seeing some teens coming in by early morning. Down in the southeast, Childress, 56. Look at Wichita Falls, 69. That was early in the day, and they started to drop back right after that system came on through. And here is the situation. Watch the big thunderstorms forming and then diminishing. And now during the day, the excessive amount of thunderstorms, all of this area under tornado watches. We've had quite a few reports of flooding rains. Dallas picking up better than 1 inch. In fact, all of north central Texas, South Oklahoma, 1 inch plus, almost 3 inches reported in the Waco vicinity. And meanwhile, we still have a few little spotty clouds that could drift across the Oklahoma Panhandle, southwest Kansas, setting off some minor snow tonight. And I don't think we'll see too many problems. The wind will gradually diminish, and tomorrow it's going to be awfully chilly for half of the day. From there on, we're going to see some warmer weather making its move in. A hard freeze for tonight. Ahead of the system, temperatures were touching 90 degrees in parts of Kentucky today, setting record highs. And then we had a tremendous drop-off into this colder air. This is what we're watching, a warming trend moving in our direction, and that'll be coming in the next day or two. Right now, readings are not extremely warm. They're in the 70s for afternoon highs in the desert southwest. We will see that jumping up quite rapidly. Look at this change from 81 degrees at St. Louis to only 36 at Des Moines, Iowa. Chicago 40, and here's an 89 coming in from around the Nashville vicinity. Again, many of those were records for the afternoon. Unfortunately, we're trapped in this cold pocket, and we'll stay there through tonight. We'll look for lows in the 20s all the way to the southeast edge of the Panhandle, and in that region we'll have some low 30s, more than likely getting below freezing, slightly below freezing for Childress, down to about Lubbock. And once even into Dallas, we'll see some 40s for afternoon highs. Teens common right on through the mountains. Still anticipating some heavier snow way up around the northeast corner of Colorado. During the day tomorrow, we'll stay in the 30s for much of western Kansas, 40s from Amarillo heading on to the north, and we'll be just touch and go with 50 here in the city, and then 50s heading on to the south of us. So we are going to be seeing another cool day tomorrow, and for the following day, a big jump up. We'll see the 60-degree line working back across us, so we are going to have some warmer weather coming in, and I think before this week finishes, we may even be seeing some 80s back in our picture. Sounds almost impossible. These are the conditions we'll expect. Snow passing just north of us, and we'll have some rain from eastern Oklahoma heading on into Arkansas. The big thunderstorms, however, will have finished. Our picture then calling for a hard freeze tonight. We'll look for a low now of 23 degrees, generally fair, but some clouds in the north Panhandle. Gusty winds gradually diminishing. And for tomorrow, some early morning clouds, and then we'll break out into sunny skies, a high near 50 degrees. Northwest winds will stay a little lighter than we saw during the day. Sundown tomorrow at 8:17. Our extended outlook will be calling for a cold morning, and then from there on, a rapid rise in temperatures, 60s, mid-60s Wednesday, mid-70s Thursday, and a good chance we could even touch into the 80s for Friday. Right now, some storminess could be returning for the Easter weekend. And speaking of storminess, we are going to have our annual tornado show, 6:30 tomorrow evening. That'll be right after Pronews.
Important time to watch it this time of year also.
Right, we're getting very close to our main season.
Nice to see that another weekend's shaping up to be pretty warm, except for some rain, which is good.
Yep. Thank you, Lynn. In People News tonight, two little girls have done what seasoned journalists wait years for. They've landed the big interview with Hillary Clinton. 12-year-old Allie Weller and her little sister Kate are hosts of a child and family-oriented talk show on a public access cable channel. Last October, Allie and her father attended a political fundraiser where the sixth grader got a chance to chat with the First Lady. Mrs. Clinton agreed to an off-camera interview, which is set for next Monday. And the girls will be given some photos to use on their show, which will air on April the 25th.
You have some good questions there.
I think there'd be a lot of good questions you could ask Mrs. Clinton, especially from a kid's perspective.
Exactly. As the rest of the world prepares for the start of the baseball season, the Dillas make their own preparation.
It's draft time down in Florida as they look for new recruits. Terry takes a look at potential players and all the day sports when we return.
Just as everybody else is, the Dillas are getting into the swing of things.
Oh, very good, the swing.
They were wildly successful last year,
yeah,
especially at the gate. Had a good team.
Another good year.
And they expect more this year, and no reason why they shouldn't. That opener at Memorial Stadium is creeping closer on May 26th. Toward that end, the Texas-Louisiana League held its annual player draft over the weekend. Channel 7 sportsman Lee Baker has more on the Dillas selections.
Fewer potential prospects at this year's camp compared to a year ago, but by the end of the two-day event, Ross Grimsley had seen a couple of players he thought could help his ball club.
Now the second day, we've seen some pretty good talent compared to the beginning, because we have so many people out there and so many people we need to eliminate at the beginning so the good talent will show. So we were not really surprised, but we see the talent today better than it was yesterday.
Badillo selected just 2 players in the 4-round draft, starting with an infielder.
What? All right, 976, second baseman for Grimsley and Amarillo.
Number 976 turned out to be 22-year-old infielder Augustin Gonzalez. Badillo's also selected 26-year-old outfielder Thomas Coates. Meanwhile, Grimsley is still trying to find some pitchers.
That's probably the toughest thing on any ball club at any level, is getting quality pitchers that throw strikes and can be competitive and fit into our different schemes of our club. So yeah, pitching is probably the main thing.
Grimsley has one more chance to find some pitchers at the league's final tryout camp this weekend in Mesa, Arizona. Lee Baker, Channel 7 Sports.
Badillo's host the Prairie Dogs, Abilene, May 26th through the 29th. The Rangers are trying to do in 3 weeks what they usually do in 6, but a shorter spring training is for a shorter season. Brian Jensen's in Florida with the Rangers.
On all the running, so that's good. Yeah. Now I get to run you guys.
They're working longer days with more conditioning than usual for a first week of spring. But this is not a usual spring.
This is how you get us back in. So we have to worry about hypothermia?
By the time the soreness gets worked out, it'll be time to get in there in the games and get the adrenaline going so you get sore all over again.
More weights, more running, more work. A direct fallout of the strike layoff that may carry on for quite a while.
I would imagine we're gonna probably keep doing a little bit during the season, you know, a little bit more conditioning than normal, just for the fact that, you know, it's going to take a little time to get everyone in tip-top shape the way you'd like to be when you start the regular season.
You know, I'm not sure that the 8-month layoff is going to play a big part in it. We haven't done that before, so I'm not sure. And this is not earth-shattering news. Everybody that follows baseball knows, is to get your 4 or 5 starting pitchers enough pitches in spring training to be able to go out and be sure that they're not going to hurt themselves.
They're not as sore as I thought they would be, and they've been introducing some new things, and they're responding very well. So we haven't had a whole lot of problems, and hopefully we won't.
Rangers hope the extra effort during a short spring helps get them through that long stretch. Brian Jensen, Port Charlotte.
The Rangers addressed their bullpen problems today by signing veteran National League reliever Roger Mcdowell to a 1-year, $500,000 contract. Moving on to basketball in the NBA, an abbreviated schedule tonight. One of those games, Golden State at the Dallas Mavericks. And in the first quarter, Jason Kidd comes up with a steal for the Mavs. His assist goes over to Lorenzo Williams for the stuff. But Golden State's Chris Mullin had quite a game. He scored 13 in the third quarter. He finished with 26. Latrell Sprewell had 30. Golden State puts Dallas 2.5 games back in that playoff chase. Clyde Drexler of the Rockets is the NBA Player of the Week. Andre Agassi has taken over the world's #1 ranking in tennis. The Toronto Blue Jays have signed right-hander Danny Darwin. Paul Ossenmacher has signed a 1-year contract with the Indians. And if you're left-handed, learn how to throw the baseball and you'll be able to make $500,000 a year until you're 40.
If you can throw a pitch and you're left-handed right now, the Rangers would probably be glad to be getting you.
Make a lot of money. Have a good time.
They need some help. Thanks, Terry. Lynn has your final note. Bring in any plants you have on your porch tonight. Now Lynn has your final forecast when we come back.
Good point. And to close out our show, a major facelift for one of the most recognizable landmarks on the West Coast.